Hey, welcome everybody to today's session, How to Avoid Burnout and Manage Stress Online. You know, many of you have probably been to many talks about managing stress and avoiding burnout. And Jania Stout, Jake Rushton, and myself, Matthew Jackson, are dedicated to make this completely different than any other type of avoiding burnout and managing stress kind of talk that you've ever heard in your life. So welcome. And just so we're all on the same page, we all know that our industry is full of dedicated, hardworking individuals like ourselves and you. And even the best advisors can be a victim of burnout and stress. It happens to all of us, you guys. That's why we're having this conversation today. And career burnout and stress can manifest itself in a number of ways. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is, number one, identifying those. We're also going to be talking about symptoms of stress and anxiety, and then more importantly, give you some good tools to overcome those and have a balanced life full of harmony and happiness. And I want to remind everybody before we get started to make sure that you stick around to the end, because we're going to be sharing, the three of us, some technology that we use in our practice on a daily and weekly basis to help relieve us of some of the stress. And you're also going to be learning 5 ways that you can increase your happiness, but you got to make sure that you stick around to the very end. And so before we go any further, I just want to introduce our co-panelists. We have Jania Stout.
Hello, everyone.
Jake Rushton in Utah. And I'm Matthew Jackson. So thanks for joining us today. And I just wanted to share with you something that I heard from a very inspiring person years ago that really kind of changed my life. And a fellow by the name of Vishen Lakhiani, who runs a multinational company called Mindvalley, shared a thought on a talk that I was in on. And he said, you know, people often underestimate what they can do in 3 years, and they often overestimate what they can do in 3 months. And that had a big shift in my life because it helped me to frame my achievements differently. And I thought about how me as a person, professionally and personally, looked at how I handled my goals. And I always found myself getting pretty frustrated if I wasn't able to achieve my short-term goals. And so this helped me to realize that we as people, by nature, we want things as quickly as possible, which is why fast food is so important, and it's why it's hard to stay consistent or get on an exercise or diet plan if you haven't been on one in such a long time. So I wanted to just make sure that you guys understood, if you're listening in on this, being patient with yourself as a person, with your personal growth and development, with the growth of your practice, is ultra important in my opinion. And I wanted just to give each co-panelist the opportunity to share their thoughts about being patient with themselves and their development personally and professionally. Jake, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with you. You know, has this been something that's been a challenge for you in your life, and how has that affected you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think patience is really the key. I mean, we're going to talk about some really tactical things today as far as how to avoid burnout and stress, but you have to understand the underlying reasons behind why those feelings come about and why we might use them as probably a wall to what is a bigger problem. And it's patience is the first thing. And I think the other part is having patience ties in with we judge ourselves, or we are worried about others' judgment. And so we put a timeline on things, or we're not where we think we should be because we're comparing ourselves so much that we see other advisors having success, we see other things going on, and we want to be there faster. And that's where we can get to this feeling of, man, I'm just not there. And we give up. That's why there's a million podcasts out there that have 3 episodes. People give up too quick. And this is a long game. And for me, the path to figuring out what I wanted to do so that I didn't feel like I was burning myself out it took forever. I mean, I was an advisor for 10 years before I finally found my way into this 401k niche that I love so much. And I'm so on board that every day I don't feel like I'm working. And I went through those 10 years bouncing around in compliance, operations, a little bit of sales. I just didn't really find what I liked in this industry. I knew I wanted to be in finance and investments, but I just couldn't get it figured out. And I remember I was at a big investment bank, and I was just miserable. And I was working, a ton of hours, I think like probably 60 or more hours a week. And it was just, I wasn't in a happy place. And I finally woke up one day and said, I got to change this. And the only person that cares about changing it has got to be me, because I can't complain and say I'm burnt out. What am I going to do? No one's going to come down and help you. You might get lucky and have a good mentor. But for me, it was a wake up moment when I finally just realized that I had to take control, and that it starts one day at a time. So we're going to get into some of those things, those steps that I took, and we'll share some other ideas. But yeah, that was the turning point for me.
A quick follow-up question, through that story was, over the last decade that you've really been kind of finding your way and growing your roots in the 401k industry, have you reframed the way that you think or view your expectations for meeting 90 days or short-term goals? And how has that improved your emotional health?
Yeah, I mean, goals are always a big deal. They've been a big part of my life for a long time. I know one of the first goals that I ever set for myself when I was a young kid, I was 12 years old. And I had realized at 11, I was pretty good at running. And I wasn't great at other sports. And I tried basketball and other things. And I just, it wasn't my thing. But running became my thing. And at age 12, I ran my first marathon with a ton of people judging me both ways, saying, that's crazy. Why would you, 12 years old, you're going to, it's not healthy. And just all sorts of negativity around doing it. And it forced me and made me challenge myself and take that bigger push and set that goal and said, well, if they're going to tell me I can't, then I'm going to prove that they're wrong. And not only did I do it, I did it well, and I continue to do it. And it's something that taught me a lesson really young, that doesn't matter what people say. When people say that you shouldn't do it or it's too hard, they've given up on doing it, and they're in a bad place themselves. So you can't act on what others tell you to do. You have to set yourself apart and figure out what's best for you. And that's key.
Awesome. How about you, Jania? How has your frame on long-term thinking and short-term thinking changed over the last decade or two, and has it made a difference in how you your aura or your energy when you're around people and around yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, what's kind of interesting is when I was first asked to be on this panel about how to avoid burnout and manage stress, what are the tricks that I use or the things that I go through to manage that? I've been thinking about it for, months now, because I knew about this panel. And when I look back in my life, I honestly have been blessed with the fact that I've always pretty much been happy. And when I look, and I didn't always know what I was doing. So, like, for example, I didn't go to college to be a 401k advisor. Probably many of us didn't. I'd be shocked if anybody did. Now, Jake's son might, but none of us would have known about this awesome industry when we were, younger. But I think that what I did do early on in my life that was probably a little different than most of my friends is I was very self-aware. And I was a philosophy major in college, so I've always been kind of a deep thinker. And I think that no matter what I was doing, I kind of took a step back and said to myself, what am I getting out of this, right? So it might not be exactly where I wanted to be, but, really thinking about mindfulness and being in the moment. I was practicing that when I was like in 10th grade of high school. I mean, I was kind of the hippie girl in high school with my friends. I was an athlete, but I also was very much into all these self-help books and this, so I think that when I look at my path, and I think this ties into how to manage stress and burnout, and it leads to being okay with the journey and recognizing and taking it all in as it's happening, right? And when you look at it that way, things aren't as stressful, right? Because you're not looking necessarily and I think that, some of you, many of, on this panel, Jake and Matt, we've talked about like goal setting and things like that. I think that's definitely important, but at the same time, embracing the journey and where you are. So that was a long way of me telling you that I didn't really have an aha moment, so to speak, except for when I finally realized it was okay that I didn't have to know it all or know where I was going when I was younger. But now that I'm here and I finally have admitted that I'm kind of senior level now, I'm okay with it. And now I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And I can look back at what I did. But going forward, like, how do I manage that burnout and stress? I think that's what we're going to talk about even further here today.
Yeah, great points, and thanks for sharing those. It was also an aha moment of me, Janie and Jake, that when I finally realized, like, it's okay to be comfortable in your own skin and enjoy the journey and be happy where you're at and enjoy where you're at, because it's probably the only time in your life you're going to be where you're at right now, right? And that was a big aha moment for me too, is I didn't have to be somebody who I really wanted, who I really wasn't. And what we're going to transition and talk about here in a little bit, which is our why, and very important. That's also another aha moment that helps to, when you can find your why, to decrease some stress and avoid burnout. What I'd like to do is just, I know many of the people that are here watching this panel today know all about the obvious, causes of stress and burnout. But we're going to talk about a few of them anyway, because as we talked offline as a panel, some of these things are very obvious, but some we get caught in unintentionally just repeating. And so a few obvious things that you should be recognizing in your life when you're taking your own personal inventory about how your health is mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually is, obviously too much work and not enough play adds to our stress. And so, it's kind of cliche to say you want to live a balanced life, but really, how do you do that? And we're going to talk about that today. One of the other things that people kind of overlook is over-promising and under-delivering. I don't know about the rest of the panelists, and I would love to hear from you guys, but I have found that not setting expectations correctly with clients has been a huge pathway to stress. How do you, Jania, manage your clients' expectations, and is it important to manage your expectations to decrease your stress levels?
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt, because I think about when a client sends an email and says, hey, can you put together a communications we want to send out for open enrollment? Let's just say it's open enrollment season right now. The old Jania would be like, absolutely, I'll get it to you by the end of the day. And then I would feel this extra stress and pressure. And even when I said yes, I was going to do whatever I could do to get it done. And sometimes, it would be the end of the day, but the end of the day would be 7 p.m. And then some of my great friends and peers just said, do you really think the client expected you to respond that you'll get it done like within 3 hours? And that's when the freedom you get when you finally say, you know what, that's a great idea. We'll put something together. We'll have it to you by next Tuesday. And they're like, fabulous. I really don't need it till next Friday, and then you've exceeded their expectation, that worked out. But that's a great point. And Matt, that's something I did wrong in my younger years because I wanted to please all my clients so badly. But at the end of the day, right, they don't need it that quickly sometimes. So don't beat yourself up. And I have to say, I just started doing that maybe just a few years ago.
I hope everybody watching saw your energy shift when you were talking about getting stuff done by 7 p.m. You kind of got small, and I could see the stress in your body language. But then as you got to the end of your point here, I could see you just like beam and be smile and relax. So it must work. How about you, Jake? Do you use setting expectations to decrease your stress?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something I'm constantly working on, and I'm in the same boat as far as I want to please every client. So I don't think there's any emergency that's going to pop up in a 401k plan that can't wait a couple of days. And I mean, once in a while there's a deadline, right? And you have to be aware of those and be ready to jump in. You got to put the work in. And some days are going to be long, and that's where you have to just love it enough that that's okay. But for the most part, you just got to be okay with telling people when it can be done. And more important than that, trusting your team or other people that are helping you, whether it's your vendors you're working with or your own staff. You've got to trust and delegate and let them learn. And they might not do it as good as you or the same way you would do it, but you have to be okay with that. And you have to just give up that control, which has been super hard for me to do. And, it's something that I really worked hard on the last year to give up all that control. And so it's freed up my time to do bigger, more strategic things with the business and take a step back and look at the overall picture of what I'm doing in my life and growth of the business without just being stuck in the middle of it, letting email drive every decision of every minute, which it easily can do, which I think a lot of us fall into that trap.
Let's talk about that for a second, because that's a great point, about emails. There's so many people out there that live a reactive life where they're just reacting to incoming, needs, wants, things like that. And years ago, I switched to only checking my email 3 times a day, once in the morning, once at lunch, once at night. That's it. And it helped me to control my day and shape my professional career and also my personal time the way that I choose. Do either of you manage your email time in the same way? Or I know, Jake, now from what you said, well, I'll just be quiet. How do you guys handle your email?
My goal, if I can get to once a day, that's my goal right now. And I have some help. So I have an amazing operations director, and she kind of filters that, and she'll prep emails and type out responses that I go through and make sure that they're right. And then I send them. So she's not acting as if she's me, but she can take some of the other stuff, rollovers, little things that pop up she can handle. She forwards them to her email and handles them. And that's been a huge help. But I don't ever want to check my email first thing in the morning, because that will destroy everything I planned the night before. It will direct everything you're going to do for that day, and you're not going to accomplish the bigger stuff. So I think we're going to shift from email to text pretty soon. And a text is a way that people are getting your attention a lot quicker and you respond a lot faster. And so I worry that that's going to become the next big lifestyle direction, that you go by what your texts tell you to do. So you've got to gain control of that and take... I think the best thing is to have your mornings set aside to accomplish the big things. Then you'll start to see bigger progress towards those bigger goals, and find a way to manage the urgent tasks that have to happen.
Man, that's powerful. I'm going to ask you about what you do in the morning, as well as you, Jania. We're going to talk about how to set the table for the day. How about you, Jania? What do you do with your emails to keep your stress down?
Well, I certainly check it way more than once or 3 times a day. So I will admit to that. And if any of my team members are on, they would call me out, because they'll be like, "What do you mean? You email me 20 times a day." But what I do try to do is I try not to fall victim of working from the top of the email down. Especially when you're in a service model, a client service model, it's just not fair to whoever was the last person to email you to get that response. So I really try to start from a few days before, if I'm, going through and scanning to see what I need to follow up on. I've tried, I'm right here to tell you, it's okay if you don't do all the things perfectly, because I'm telling you, I do all the things wrong from email, but I try to make little improvements where I can. I've heard great systems. It's just not in my DNA to do it. So I just make it work for me. And the biggest thing I can do is just don't start at the top of the inbox.
Great points.
That's a good point, Matt. Her point of that's not her. That's fine. I hate CRMs. I don't use them. I don't have the time to do it. You have to do you. And I think we can learn a lot from the TPA industry. I've never met a TPA that wasn't so crazy organized in email. They do really well with handling incoming requests and problems. And so as advisors, we're kind of a different breed. We're go, and it's constantly meeting and spending time talking to people. And so find a system that works for you and be okay with it. And that's the key to it. That's where you don't have burnout, is when you put other expectations because you're comparing yourself.
Oh, I just want to add I do one other good thing on email, and the rest is all bad. But somebody told me, to spend at least, 5 minutes once a week unsubscribing. And that has helped tremendously. So I'll literally, like on Monday morning or on Friday, like whenever I have like some downtime and I'm sitting there, I'll go, you know what, I'm going to commit to this right now because I'm tired of getting all these emails, and you unsubscribe, and it's awesome.
Well, I hope everybody who's watching has downloaded the PDF and has taken some notes on some of this stuff, because it's, you know, so powerful to be able to take 5 minutes of your day and unsubscribe. I'm in the same boat as you, Jania. I get so much spam. It'll take me 5 minutes a day just to go delete from spam stuff. So I do what you do once a week and unsubscribe from as much clutter as I possibly can. Let's move on to some other things that can lead to burnout and stress, because we've got about 40 minutes left. And, you know, I think it's important for everybody to understand these, because when you're in the forest, it's hard to see the trees. Meaning, if you're dealing with stress and anxiety and burnout, it's hard to realize what the symptoms are that you're experiencing. So that's why we wanted to spend some time on this, which we know is, I know, being in the industry for 20 years, a lot of people in our industry are very independent. They're very strong-willed. You have to be out in sales. And I know for me in the past that isolation, working by myself without a partner, has been a problem. And so what I've done is to find communities that help uplift me outside of work in activities that I like to do. For me, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's archery, it's personal growth and development, and my family. And do you each, Jake and Jania, use things to help you, you know, stay plugged in and energize you outside of work, so you don't feel isolated and you feel, you know, just as a stronger, more multi-dimensional person?
Yeah, go ahead, Jania.
Okay. Well, I am a huge Peloton fan. Like, they just came out with their like Christmas stuff today. I ordered their pajamas. I'm so excited. I've got all my friends on Peloton. Like, I know that's just in a screen and it's not in person, but it's my community. Like, I love Peloton tread and bike, and I'm in all these groups, and, you know, so that's where I feel uplifted. And people give you, any Peloton users, you know, you get high fives. By the way, my name is Soul Singer, so if anyone wants to friend me, we can high five each other during bikes. So.
Awesome. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up a runner, and I kind of transitioned to triathlons, and I've picked up, you know, going to the gym and kind of lifting, nothing crazy, just kind of a lifestyle thing. So I kind of, we'll get to our days, but I use exercise not only for the physical benefits, right? I feel better, I feel more alert, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I made it a part of my regular routine. And when I'm doing it, I like activities where I can actually get into a deeper thought about my life and about my work and kind of where I'm trying to go. And I use it as my time to meditate. So like when I'm on my bike, I love road biking for the simple fact that I can kind of, I mean, pay attention to what I'm doing, but it's not like mountain biking where you really have to be in the zone. On a road bike, you can kind of just, you know, push it. And I get to a state where I don't even remember the ride because I'm so deep in thought that I'm just really enjoying my time. And at the same time, I'm getting exercise out of it. So I'm always ready to do either swim, bike, or run, because I find that my schedule will change. There's always going to be something that pops up. I could have a meeting, you know, change and someone cancel last minute, and maybe I'm somewhere up in Idaho, and I always have that stuff with me so that if something does change or I get an hour or two there, I can jump in and do one of those and fit that in so that I can continue being effective in my long-term goals. Because when I travel, I mean, I go all day and night. I'm go because I'm not home with my family. But I think the key is just to have a consistent routine, but be able to adapt to change, because you don't know what's going to pop up in the day. So I love making exercise a part of my routine, because I think in the overall picture, it does benefit your business. And sometimes we don't think of it that way. We think of it as a distraction. Oh, I should be working, but I need to go get this run done. And so you put this pressure on yourself. You got to get a run done. Think of it as you're going to come back and be more effective because you took that break. And now you can come back and get a lot more done in a better way.
That's a huge point. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to talk a little bit more about exercise and some other things here as we go through our discussion. If you're a team leader leading a group of people or by yourself, be sure that you recognize some other symptoms that can lead to burnout and stress, like societal pressures. You know, the imposter syndrome, as some people call it, which is, maybe you're new to this business in the last 5 years, but you got to, drive a car that somebody who's been in the industry for 20 years might drive, or wear the type of clothes that somebody's been in the industry who's making a substantial income wears. Be yourself. Don't be the imposter. Be comfortable in your own skin. And if you don't know the answer to a question from one of your clients, I don't know, but I'll find the answer is a perfectly acceptable answer. Lack of recognition. That can often lead to burnout and stress. So if you're a team leader, make sure that you're recognizing the people that are doing a good job for your business. Waiting for milestones to happen can also cause burnout and stress, and I'll share why with you here in a little bit. Being technology or process deficient or inefficient. I know for the people that have been on this panel, when you don't have the right answers in technology, that can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety. And we're going to share our top 3 technology picks at the end of this discussion so you guys can walk away with things to investigate. But before we really get into the crux of the last 30 minutes of this discussion, I wanted to share 2 really important points about identifying stress and what causes it. And number 1, not celebrating your victories. And I want to share with you all a very cool story. I was in Phoenix last year attending a conference for a different industry, personal growth and development. And I had dinner with a gal who's industry leader and giant. And we just happened to be at I didn't know it at the time, but the best restaurant in all of Arizona. And, I looked at her and I said, this isn't something that I would normally do. And she goes, I do it all the time because I'm celebrating. And the maitre d' came over to talk to us. And she looked at that person immediately and said, we're celebrating. Last month, I did $1 million launch. We're celebrating. He was so excited. He left to go get, some things to make the celebration great. But I looked at her when she was done. I said, you did that a month ago and we're still celebrating today. She goes, yeah, that's how I stay in a great mood. Let's keep celebrating. So I just wanted to share with everybody, you don't need a huge excuse to celebrate, but make sure that you celebrate your victories. Jake and Jania, do you guys do things in your practice to celebrate your victories? And how often do you do them? And have you found that it helps to bring up your mood of happiness?
You can go first, Jake, since
Yeah.
I was last time.
Okay. Yeah, we do that. We probably should do better at that. I definitely focus that and come home and tell and share with my family what's been going on. I'm very open with my work, and they all know what my logo is, and they all are fully aware of what 401k plans are, and they can understand when it's going good and when things are difficult. And we do little things all the time, and mostly it revolves around ice cream, and that's kind of our go-to. But as a firm, every once in a while before COVID, we were pretty good about heading down to Moab and spending some time just in the outdoors and kind of just being around each other outside of work, which is always helpful. And I think, celebrating the smaller stuff is good. And it's good when you have a set goal and you're actually getting, and you see that you achieve it, and then you're recording how you got there. Because that's, I think, a key point. I think that's one thing that Matthew McConaughey keeps talking about in his new book is you got to write down and remember the things that are going good and bad, so that when things are going bad, you can look back at what was going good when it was good. So I think we all should do a better job of tracking when things are going well, because we kind of get lazy in that state because everything's going well, So that's really important. I should do better at that.
How about you, Jania?
It's funny. You made me think about this because we used to, whenever we'd close a deal, we'd have like a big, we'd either order lunch for everyone or go back before COVID, we'd go out to lunch. And then what happens is you start to get more and more clients, and then you're busy. So a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, we had one of our younger employees be responsible to kind of book something fun for us to do, whether it was we did a cooking class once, we did a ropes course, which that one's a little risky. Like, make sure all your team can handle that, because it was a little harder for some than others. And I was Like I was one that like couldn't make it over that wall. So anyway, and everyone had bruises after. It was actually kind of funny. But we, like Jake, we probably should do it more. And now that we're in this environment, the only thing we've been doing now, we go back into the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's optional. But I'd say, a good 6 to 8 people are there. And I try to make sure that at least one of those days we're buying lunch for everyone. So we'll all sit around together and eat lunch together. So that I think is a way to kind of just celebrate victory of being able to be in person.
And that's just so important on what we do is, we're all fiduciary. Most of us are fiduciaries. All of us are in this business because we care about people. But in a selfish way, what are we really here for? We want to be able to have a comfortable retirement ourselves and have nice things for our family and do nice things with our friends. And to me, that kind of equates like, hey, people think retirement is nothing but a big honeymoon, right? Well, why do we have to wait to retirement to celebrate? Why can't we do it along the way? That's why we're working so hard, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was posting the other day about, Tim Ferriss, page 31 of his book is all about the mind shift. How we think about retirement is changing. And we have to understand that as advisors and as people in this industry, this dream of at age 65, we have enough money in our 401k to live off of is changed. It's morphed. So we have to think of this a lot different because it's not successful for a lot of people. And so we've got to find a way to make sure we don't end upset and regretting that we didn't live the life we wanted to live.
Sounds like a quote in a book that I read once somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get into tactics and techniques on what you can use in your business and in your life right now, 2 quick things. And you may want to write this down if you're watching. If you find yourself behaving these ways or feeling these ways, you're a victim of too much stress and burnout. And it's time to change some things. So if you're feeling exhausted, you got a grumpy attitude, you have the inability to think clearly, you're experiencing a little depression or anxiety, you're relying on alcohol or drugs or other things, rock and roll maybe, rather than just being, grounded and happy. If you're cutting corners on meetings, you're not fully prepared, or if you find yourself over-promising and under-delivering, you're probably a victim of not managing your stress and burnout. And so make sure that you keep those in mind and just constantly check in with yourself to see if you're experiencing those or not, and to make the appropriate changes. And I wanted to end this part before we talk about techniques. I wanted to talk about the why we do this business, because from all of the successful people that I've been able to be mentored by, professional coaches that I've hired for my own personal growth and development, rock star professionals like Jake and Jania and other people, they've always said knowing why they do what they do has been the biggest source of happiness in their life. And don't underestimate the power of why is the message that I've received from a lot of people. And there was a long time in my professional career that I didn't know my why. And I thought I knew it, but I grew into it over time. And it took me about a decade to really grow into it after I knew who I was. And I'll share with you my why. My why is I come from a blue collar background. My father and mother were separated when I was young, latchkey kid, grew up as a construction worker, and looked around at all the people that I knew in construction and knew that their retirement was not what I wanted. And I thought, wow, money controls everybody's life. And so I think it would be smart for me to learn about how to manage my money. And so I did. And then over time, I became an advisor. And then what I saw was something that really bothered me, and that it became my why. And I saw a lot of people, Main Street America, just not getting the help that they truly needed from my perspective. And so my why is I'm the champion of Main Street America. I care about the people that nobody cares about, the flyover states. Those are my people. So when I'm out there, having a hard day, working extended hours, more than I really want to, I think about those people. And that has helped me to not be resentful when I have long days, not be resentful when I have difficult challenges that I have to create the problems for in different areas. And I think knowing your own why is something that eludes a lot of people for a number of reasons. Number one, they've maybe never looked internally on who they are and what really matters to them, morally, ethically, those types of things. And then people also have never been really shared with the power of knowing your why. We have a saying in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you don't know what you don't know. And it's incredible how maybe just the change of a hand position from here to here has all of the difference in how you can control somebody. The why for me was the difference of holding somebody like this with little control and holding somebody like this, myself, with lots of control over my happiness. Jania, would you speak for just a moment on your process in finding your why? And you look like a naturally just happy person like myself and Jake. But knowing your why, I mean, has that really helped to improve your happiness, increase your happiness, or how has it affected you?
Yeah. So again, I shared that I've always been very self-aware, and I'll tell you like a story that kind of helped me figure out that I was following my why and didn't know it. And for those of you listening that are like, wow, you keep hearing about, you got to have your why and you've got to have your passion, follow your passion. If you're one of those that gets stressed out because you don't know what your passion really is, or maybe you're not feeling happy here and you're stressed out, Elizabeth Gilbert, just go on Google, type in Elizabeth Gilbert. It's the hummingbird versus jackhammer. I think it's a TED Talk, or it's maybe she did it on some other episode. She's the woman that wrote Eat, Pray, Love. But it's an excellent description of people that maybe are more of a hummingbird, meaning, and I would kind of say I might be the hummingbird, not the jackhammer. So I have a friend that I went to high school with. Ever since I've known her, she's like, I'm going to be a doctor. And I mean, that was since 9th grade. Sure enough, she's a doctor in New York. She's super successful. Like, she was the jackhammer. She knew what she wanted. That was her, why, and it pulled her there. Jania had no idea. Like, I was just like, I just want to go and experience life. So I really was the hummingbird. And then this was going back probably 13, 15, 14 years ago. I was at Fidelity still before I went off to be an advisor. And I was part of this leadership group in Baltimore that it's a 1 year, it's called The Leadership, and it's a 1 year thing. You got to apply for it. And you get to see all the things that are going on in the city. And it's pretty dismal, but I knew I was drawn to people and helping people. And here I was selling 401k plans, right? So at the end of this program, you go to breakfast or lunch with the director, and he's a fabulous man, just amazing. And his name is Hans, and I said, Hans, I'm at a point in my career where I don't know if I'm being fulfilled enough. Like, I'm selling this, service for 401k plans, but am I doing enough? And, maybe I should make a career change or do something like that. And I remember him telling me, Jania, when you talk about what you do, you seem so happy though. Like, are you sure you're not helping people? And that's when I realized, like, maybe I can help people inside the 401k industry. Like, I don't have to go work for a nonprofit. So he just happened to help me recognize, because I felt like, I work for financial services, but my goal in life is to help people. Is that really doing that? And thus began my career as an advisor, where since day one, we've been focused on financial wellness. And we've done tons of, services to participants. So that's my why. But I didn't know it was my why till I was already there, right? So my message to you listening is, watch that video of Elizabeth Gilbert, because it made me feel more normal, that I wasn't sure what I was doing until I got there. And then I was like, wow, this is it. Like, so anyway, that's my little tidbit.
That's awesome. I mean, it's, as an outsider looking in, somebody might look at Jania or Jake or myself and say, wow, they have it all. They were overnight success. They didn't have any struggles. And what you're hearing is that, we've all had struggles personally and professionally. We're just sticking to it. Jake, how about your why? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, please?
Yeah. It's a long journey, and there's definitely been some dark moments where I didn't know what I would do next. And I think it kind of started from the idea that I had to go to college, get a job, and work my way up a corporate ladder. And that was kind of always like the mindset, like who's going to pay me more? Where am I going to go to next? And I didn't have enough confidence in myself and my ability of what I could do personally, because each of us is unique. Each of us has a talent. And whether you're an employee or you're the business owner or the practice owner yourself, you can think like an owner. And so if you're an employee, you own yourself, own your own reputation, and give yourself some real purpose. And a part of that has to be what you do to help others, because if it's all about you, it's not going to last. Because the benefits of being in this industry, in my opinion, is you get to see results. You see positive things happen because of the work and effort you put in. It's not as if you're trying to just make a quick sale, move on to the next sale. You can put enough effort in to literally change the direction of a family's future. And not just that one employee, but their kids and their kids. Like, it really can go on because of one little one-on-one meeting you had that got them to trigger a change in their lifestyle with their money or whatever it was that you said to them. You have that ability. You get that trust right out of the gate when you come in to meet a new participant. So for me, the why is really deep, and I really enjoy seeing that transition of someone having no confidence in their future to seeing some hope that they're gonna do it, and they're gonna be able to invest in themselves and their family, and they're gonna see success. That is really rewarding to me, way more than any paycheck could be.
It's so amazing because many of us underestimate the power that we have on people's futures. And to me, there's no better feeling than helping people have a better life than they would have had without your influence. And, I wrote a book a couple of years ago called The Retirement Dreammaker. And I would think that everybody listening to this presentation, this panel discussion, you're a retirement dreammaker. You single-handedly have the power to improve people's lives because you're involved. That's amazing. Let's move on because we've got about 17 minutes left. And, winning the day for me is something that's very important. And the way that I win the day is I win the morning. I have a dedicated morning routine that I follow pretty closely. It sounds like, Jake, you do. Jania, how about your life? I know that you are very dedicated to yourself personally as well as professionally. I know that you started last time, but I'm going to call you out. Do you mind sharing with us if you have anything that you do on a regular basis, maybe not daily, that helps you to win the day?
Yeah, I will. So I actually December 15th will be 1 year since I started to actually implement more of a routine that I follow pretty rigorously, because I know it increases my happiness level. Which, when you increase happiness level, you decrease your stress level. So this whole thing is how to manage stress. Well, one way is to increase happiness. But anyway, so almost a year ago, I started eating keto. So I took sugar and white flour and really pretty much most of the carbs out of my eating habits. I also, as you heard, I fell in love with Peloton. But what's important to me, and I've listened to lots of speakers. I'm sure you all have listening as well. And believe it or not, I think it was Oprah Winfrey. Many years ago, she wrote a book, and I had read it, but she talked about how working out in the morning is the best time to work out because it's really the only time you have control of your life. And that's always resonated with me. If I don't get it over with in the morning, then the likelihood of me working out after hours gets smaller and smaller. Like, I have a 10% chance of it working out. So I get up at 5:30. I also have a puppy. She's 7 months old now, but that helps my two daughters are grown in college, so they don't wake me up anymore in the morning, but my puppy does. But I get up in the morning, have my coffee. That I can't work out before coffee. I take her on a little 1 mile loop in my neighborhood. And literally, and anyone that has dogs or animals, if they're used, they know that routine. And I cannot just take her around the yard. She will literally stand on the driveway like, why aren't we going this way, But that's a good little start to my workout. And then I do some kind of workout. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have team meetings at 9 o'clock. And so I used to do my workouts before them. But now I do that same 1 mile loop. And then I'll get like coffee, another cup of coffee, do some emails. And then I work out while I'm on my team meeting. And it's what's kind of cool is it's created this like kind of wave. And some of our other team members will either, the next day meeting, you'll see them, they'll be on their walking treadmill desk or, walking outside with the camera on their phone. So to me, I'm able to be able to still speak. Some of you might be saying, you must not be working out very hard if you are doing a team meeting. But I think Catherine's on this one. She could vouch for me. I'm usually sweating, don't look very pretty at all. But I don't care. It's my family. It's my team. So that's my routine. And I take my vitamins. And I bought one of those. So I'm definitely showing my age. This happened like a month ago. I bought one of those vitamin things that you put like the night and the morning thing. And I had to buy like the big extra large one, right? Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those. But I hated every morning getting out all the jars and opening them all up. So that makes me less stressed because on Sundays I fill it all up for the week. And just getting back those extra few minutes of not opening containers. So there's little things you can do to help manage stress.
Awesome. How about you, Jake? What are you doing in the morning to win your day?
Well, I still have young kids at home, so they have to work around their schedule. So I get up, get my teenagers out, and then I do a quick 30 minutes at the gym. I'm lucky enough, there's a Planet Fitness like 1 minute from my house. So I get that in, I get back and get the other ones out so that my wife can have her morning because her day's chaotic with 5 kids. And it's enough time to at least get jump started. And so I do my lifting then and get that done and then hope to squeeze in some sort of cardio throughout the day, whether on my bike or a run or something or a swim. So the mornings are a good time to connect with my kids and just see them off. And I make sure, I get them to the bus stop and it's kind of fun to talk to them in the morning because they're a little more lively and not as anxious to get off to their friends like they are in the afternoon. So yeah, it's all about my kids.
That's great. I have a little morning routine that I would like to share. I'm a 5:30 a.m. riser as both of you guys are. And I have to have my espresso in the morning before I get started. But one of the things that I like to do because I run a serious fast pace all day, multitasking like everybody else, is I take anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, depending on my schedule, and I do some creative visualization. It's a technique that I learned when I was an athlete. I was a scholarship gymnast in college, and coming up, we had somebody from the Olympic Training Center come to us one day to one of our practices and tell us, hey, at the Olympic Training Center, we use creative visualization to improve outcomes. And it was amazing as I improved my creative visualization practice that things that I was using here, creative visualization, were actually turning up for real in my real life. So I've transitioned that from the athletics stage to the business stage. And so depending on my day, and you guys might want to write this down and develop this into your own practice, but I started my meditation practice with one titled on YouTube. It's free. It's called the 6-Phase Meditation. It's 30 minutes. It's a great guided meditation, and it can kick you off on how to do a little creative visualization. But I'm somebody who really has to have balance in their life. And so if I've rubbed somebody the wrong way, I'll often ask for forgiveness just in my own little, private space to make sure that that's not hanging on to me. Okay. I'll also have gratitude for things that happened in my life, personally and professionally, over the last 48 hours and acknowledge those. It's my way to celebrate the victory. It's my way to be humble and say thank you. And I've really helped. It's really helped me to be appreciative of the very small things. And I'll give gratitude for a good cup of espresso. That's how detailed I get. But I also focus on what I want to have happen for the day. I visualize my perfect day. If I'm having a conversation with Jania or Jake, I'm imagining that happening perfectly as a perfect outcome for both of us, not just me, to give that person that I'm interacting exactly what they want and need to benefit, as well as myself. And then I'll also think about, where I want to be in 3 years, the people I want to be with, the things I want to be doing, and the people I want to share those experiences with. And so creative visualization in the morning for me, 5 to 60 minutes is huge. It helps me to stay focused and grounded, especially when we have a day that we're multitasking, which for me is a lot. But what I heard from both of you was that to be a peak performer and to manage your stress, you really do a good job of eating right, exercising, as well as growing yourself personally and professionally. Did I get that right?
I need work with my eating. That's my weakness. I'm all about speed. So if I have to grab a slice of pizza at Costco, I'll do it, and I'll work out a little harder next time. But that's not a long-term plan. So that's on my list of things that I've got to fix. So, and that's okay with me. Like, you have to just do the best you can and know that there's always room for improvement, and that's fine.
Yeah. Janie, obviously it helps you with your Peloton riding and your exercise, making sure that you're eating the right foods, getting the right rest, right? Working your life as when you're in athletics, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Really, this is, I can tell you that it also helps me have better focus for the rest of the day. So it's not just about, I did lose 60 pounds, which is a lot of weight. But I did it the smart way. It wasn't done overnight. It was consistency. But I think, it made me better at my job, because then when I'm in front of nowadays a computer, because that's all we are doing Zoom or email or calls, but I'm way more focused because I've gotten so much healthier overall.
And add to that, I think surround yourself with people that push you, or at least hold you accountable. They don't have to be, and you can do it remote. I mean, that's why Peloton's so awesome, is because it's a community, and that's what this whole event is surrounding. This is a community. And I looked at the polls. I mean, we've got most of the people here today are over 10 years an advisor, mostly in the 401k or fee-only advisor world. Some wholesalers are here, and that's key. We're all here to support each other and do the same thing in your personal life with your fitness and your eating. Like, share it and get someone else that's going to challenge you. I have some friends down the street that are training for Ironmans, and they push me. It's hard, and I get dropped all the time, but I'm still going to show up, and I'm going to try my best. And that's okay. And I don't care that I'm not ever ahead of them. Once in a while I'll get a good day, but that's going to help you be consistent and keep up with it. Yeah.
Daily discipline, right?
Yeah.
Daily discipline. What I'm hearing from the three of us is that none of us are doing anything, crazy, bonkers, spectacular, just once every 6 months. It's just the daily discipline, the little things doing that add up over time, correct?
Right. It's ongoing. And I think even to add it, there's a question here I wanted to touch on before we run out of time, was how do you social media and how it relates to being productive and adding more stress. And I would say this ties in well with what we're talking about, is you've got to approach social media from a different mindset, not the mindset of you're going to go in there, compare yourself. Go in there to create and provide value to the people that you're sharing with, but also the community aspect. Support each other. If you find yourself putting negative comments somewhere, find why you're doing that, because it's probably not related to that one person that you're trying to attack or whatever. And I don't think many of us do that, but find positivity and don't spend time just scrolling. Spend time interacting and being a part of that conversation, because it's basically, a happy hour all the time, 24/7 on Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you want to go. And you can find positive things to share and help and get to know other people. So use it as a positive.
It's an interesting point. I was just doing an audiobook on one of the biggest, most successful digital marketers in the world. And what he said in the audiobook is, if you're spending more than 10 minutes, this is him, not me, more than 10 minutes a day scrolling your news feed, you're wasting your time. He does 10 minutes a day, and then he spends 30 minutes on his own posts. Now that's his business, and I get it, but I think we can use that in our own practice. So if you find yourself on Instagram or Facebook just scrolling, set yourself a time limit, and instead of consuming content, produce content.
Yeah,
say something that's valuable and helpful.
I was going to also add just to the question, because it's adding stress, like because you can get lost. If you have an Apple phone, and I'm sure Androids have it too, you can track how long you're spending on all these sites, and you can put limits on it. So I've actually, and I know I'm probably jumping the gun talking about technology, but that's one of the things I use since I'm with my phone constantly. I mean, like I think this thing is like, could be growing out of my hand any day, but I will always set limits on the social media. The other thing I would tell you, don't try to be something you're not. Like, if you just don't feel comfortable, like my business partner, he is not a social media guy. So, he lets me be the social media because I love it. And he's okay with that. So maybe there's someone else on your team that would do a better job because it's more in their DNA. But I think if it doesn't come out, because I can tell when somebody's like doing it because they think they have to do it, that adds stress. So don't put yourself that expectation out there. There are other ways you can get in front of people, whether it's hiring a third party to do it for you or asking one of your team members to do it.
Great point. And you did not, go out of turn, because we have 3 minutes left, and this is going to be rapid fire round. And I'll start. The top technology you've used in the last year to make your life easier, for me, it's been BombBomb. BOMB, BOMB. It's video email with tracking. And instead of sending somebody just a regular email, I can just hop on from my computer that has a camera and a microphone or my handheld device and reply to email with just a video. Because it's video, I've seen my open rate like dramatically increase. So if you're having problems with open rates and you want better connection with your emails to your prospects or your clients, I would recommend you use BombBomb. Jake and Jania each have a minute, and Jania, you're finishing up with the 5 ways to improve your happiness. Go.
Okay, me or Jake?
Jake first.
Yeah, okay. So honestly, I keep it simple. I really love the Notes app because I'm a big Apple guy. I use, have a MacBook. I've got my phone and my watch. And I literally, anytime something pops up, someone calls me, hey, I need this done. Instead of trying to remember that or jotting the notes down, I put it in my notes. I have a to-do list that's shared with my account manager, and she can see it. I drop it in there. If she can grab it, she'll do it. If not, it's going to be there, and it's off my mind, and it's in place, and it syncs to my computer. It syncs to my phone. So no matter what situation I'm in, I can put it in there. And then I also use voice a lot. So just like with the BombBomb, I've been using a lot of voice messaging on LinkedIn, or as well as just texting people. Hey, this just came up. Drop them a line so I don't have to sit and text it out because I'm driving all the time. I can literally just record, drop it. They can listen to it when they have a second. It's so much faster and so much quicker, and just I'm all about time and going fast. So those are the 2 things that I love to use.
That's great. Janie, we already know about your technology recommendation. Will you close our session with 5 ways that you can improve your happiness?
Sure. And this I didn't come up with. I heard this. It was a TED Talk. I think it's a Harvard professor that actually teaches a class on happiness, how to raise your level of happiness. And I actually did this with my 2 daughters a couple years ago. And they say that you do this, just try it for 21 days. And so if you all listening today can make a point to do this for the next 21 days, I'd love to hear from you if you felt like your happiness level went up. And by the way, when one of my daughters calls me from college and they're stressed out and unhappy, I'll be like, well, have you done any acts of kindness today? So you'll hear it here. So basically, one is write down 3 acts of gratitude, which kind of goes with what Matt was talking about. Certainly journaling or writing down what you're grateful for, because when you spend time in your brain thinking about things you're grateful for, it pushes all that negative stuff in the background. So that helps put the positive stuff up front. Another one is to journal one positive experience a day. So what happened during your day? Not that you're grateful for, but you might be grateful, but what was a positive experience? Maybe you heard back from that prospect, or maybe the client said, we're going to accept the raise you asked for a raise in your fee. We're going to take it. The next one is exercise, which you've heard all of us and lots of the people in the chat box are talking about how exercise has made a big part. I know that exercise is important. I know sometimes we get on a funk, but the more you can push it. But try it for 21 days, even if it's 15 minutes of walking. The next is breathe. And I actually have on my Apple Watch that breathe app that reminds me to take time to breathe. And sometimes I'm annoyed by it, right? I'm like, oh, do I really have to do this? But then I remember it does help calm you, and it does help bring you back into mindfulness. So do the breathing. And then the last one, which is my absolute favorite, and it's the one I do all the time, and I teach our team this, is express acts of kindness through a text or email or verbally every day. And so, just the other couple weeks, I went to South Carolina to visit my daughter who's at USC, and her boyfriend was there, and we went for a walk. And I said, listen, guys, while we walk on this path, I don't want you to look down when you pass somebody. I want you to look at them and smile and wish them a good day, right? And you'd be amazed how hard it is to do that, right? Because we're so just programmed to just walk. Like, how many of us have gone to the grocery store, we're paying, and you walk out and you're like, I don't think I ever even made eye contact with that person. So I try to be in the moment and remind myself, but do it for 21 days. If you think somebody's, if you like the way somebody's shirt looks, tell them they look nice. Because a lot of times we think it in our heads, but we don't say it out loud. And I think that showing acts of kindness, when you give to others, it will raise your happiness level as well. And then just bring it back to the title here. That will help you with burnout and manage stress, because I've actually never felt burnt out and rarely feel stress. And I just think it's because I'm really happy in what I do.
Oh, what a beautiful way to end today's session. We are at the end of our time. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Jania for being so open and not holding back and bringing great value. I'm super grateful to be on this panel with both of you. And I wish everybody here all the success that you deserve and work hard for. And before we sign off, I think we have some questions from Lisa and the gang. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Thank you very much. I have an announcement of 3 winners. So the way we're going to do this for the registration for the Wealth at Work conference in Nashville, October 24th through the 26th, which is the rebranded Excel 401k. You can actually check out the website now at wealthwork.live. Wealth at Work Live. Wealth@work.live. There we go. And it's going to be at the Grand Hyatt in Nashville. So the way we're going to do this, Jake, if you could, I have the registration list here from 1 to 143. Name me any random number.
Let's go with my lucky number 44.
44. That is Mona Gooden. All right. For Mona, we will email you the registration link to sign up for a free registration to the Wealth at Work conference at the Grand Hyatt. All right. We got 2 more numbers. How about Jania? Give me a number 1 through 143.
15.
15.
My college number.
College number, that just won. Janet Wayne won. She is the next winner. So Janet, you have won the registration to the Wealth at Work conference, October 24th to 26th. And one more, Matthew, last but not least, what is the number 1 through 143?
1.
Number 1, that's the easiest one to find. There we go. Timothy Yee. You have the 3rd winner of the free registration to the Wealth at Work conference in Nashville of October 24th through the 26th. Again, the website is wealthatwork.live. Thank you all. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you being on this session. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Everybody. It's a big puppy.
She's only 6 months old.
Oh, is that